Joining us now, Sean Spicer. Sean Spicer, the former press secretary for the President of the United States, President Trump. He's also the author of a New York Times bestseller, The Briefing. You can get that right on my website, johnfredericksradio.com. Buy it there. You're good to go. Also, Sean, longtime senior executive with the Republican National Committee, and now he's a senior advisor with the number one political action committee in America that the president, the only one the president backs, senior advisor, America First Policies and America First Policies Action. Sean Spicer, great to have you, man.
Good to be back with you, John.
Sean, so
I'm excited. You got me. By the way, I got to say, you got me pumped up for this Fed cut. Now, I don't know if I even need it, but I feel like I need to call and refine.
Yeah, you got to do it. Yes, because it's hot. Because you're going to get a lower rate. Right now, you got to lock it in, right? Plus, I know you do a lot of housing, got a lot of real estate. Because, you know, we saw that in your disclosures. Unfortunately, you work for the government. It's all out there. So we know you're in the real estate business. So now's the time to do it, Sean. Call Mark Livingstone right now, 202-625-1221. Do it for your kids. By the way, before we get into politics, how are the kids?
They're fantastic, thank you. They're having a blast this summer, and it's actually a nice change of pace to be able to relax and enjoy a little bit of the summer with them after 6 years at the RNC and 7 months at the White House. I finally got to learn their names.
Oh, that's good, Sean. Okay. So, look, we got three things to cover. Let's start with the debate last night. What was your take? Winners, losers, what happened?
So, here's the thing. I think Marianne Williamson is the big winner. If you look at the search terms, and it's sad, and frankly, I would urge all of your viewers, give her $1. We need her on the debate stage in September. Go out, give her that $1 that she needs to get the donors. They're raising the threshold for the next debate. I think Sanders and Warren basically had a push. There was nothing great. Tim Ryan and Steve Bullock, Tim Ryan, the congressman from Ohio, Steve Bullock, governor of Montana, reminded us what the Democratic Party looked like 5-10 years ago. They talked about sort of that center left wing stuff that Democrats talked about for decades, and everyone else was to the far crazy left wing. And so I thought it was interesting because it was fascinating to me that there was such a huge contrast in what the Democratic Party has become. It was also a reminder of who's going bye-bye, because Bullock, Delaney, Ryan are not going to make the cut for the September debate. So if you liked them, you better have DVR'd it, because that's the last time you're going to see them on a debate stage. And that, to me, is sort of going to be a really interesting dynamic, because there's not going to be that sort of disparity next time you see them in September of a group that is the sort of the pragmatist left-wing group of traditional Democrats and the crazy Democrats. So you're going to, and then the last thing I would just say is, from a moderator standpoint, I think the moderators did a huge disservice to viewers and Americans by not actually asking them about the substance of any of these crazy policies. To let people stand on stage, John, and talk about free this, free that is a true disservice. You and I and every one of your listeners understands that there's no such thing as free. Healthcare is on the rise because government keeps artificially allowing it to grow. There's no cost controls, and offering something free will undermine both quality of service and continue to grow cost. And telling people that college is debt is insane.
Well, I mean, when you talk about giving away college for free, I guess three things come to mind. Number one is, that's an enormous cost. I don't know how we're going to pay for that with $21 trillion in debt. That's the first thing. Sean, the second thing is, what happens to the accountability? I mean, the fact that, we send our kids to college, they're paying for it, we're paying for it, they're accountable. You just do it for free. It's like they're adults now. They feel like going to class, they go. They don't feel like going to class, they don't go. There's no accountability for that.
Yeah, but I would take it one step further, John. Here's the problem. Right now, the government is creating the rise in cost of college. They've taken over the student loans. These colleges and universities from coast to coast continue to jack up tuition. There's no accountability with the actual institutions. There's no one that's saying, hey, by the way, if you do this degree is not going to pay out this much. This isn't really a good education. Go get something in human studies that means nothing and that you can't actually get a career for. But the cost continues to go up. We saddle the student with, it's not just the student accountability. The institutions are being fed a system where the federal government creates loans to pay for an increasing cost of college and then guarantees the very same loan after the institution jacks up the rate. There is nothing to control cost with the university. And so offering it to free, you're absolutely right, creates no incentive accountability on the student. But furthermore, it creates no accountability on the institution to stop raising the cost. If the government is going to allow this to happen, it actually creates an incentive for the institution to raise the cost and continue to jack it up.
No, you're exactly right. So in your mind last night, Marianne Williamson was a big winner. I agree with that. I thought Sanders won the debate because he was being compared against Beth Warren. I thought he got his mojo back. Who do you think right now, if you looked at this field right now, and you look at the giveaways the Democrats are doing, the fact that they want to take health care away from 200 million people is asinine. If you had to guess right now, who do you think is going to be the nominee?
Bernie Sanders.
I agree with you. See, I think it's going to be the nominee also. And
so can I tell you why, and then I want to hear your reason?
Yes.
And this is something that every pundit, and I'm not saying that but obviously a lot can change here and there. The problem that when you look at politics is, in other words, it's like look at in playing rules. The way that the Democrats looking at national polls is great. You start off in caucus in Iowa, New Hampshire. He does very well in caucuses. He's got strength in organizing. He goes into Iowa. It's a small state. He's got a strong grip on there. He did very well last cycle. He goes in. I think he can win Iowa, okay, because it's not about poll numbers. It's about who shows up for the caucus, and he's got great organization. He goes to New Hampshire. He's a native son. He goes from there to South Carolina. He's going to have a problem there because it's got a much bigger black vote that he does not do well with. Kamala Harris or Biden could win there. Then they go to Nevada. Nevada is where he continues to be a caucus state. Unions are strong. Again, he's got strength in organizing. So if you look at the first four primary and caucuses, the four contests that hit off the bat, I actually think that he could get 3 out of 4, and that would give him tremendous momentum. But people keep looking at these national polls and saying, okay, well, guess what? When you do that, you're taking into consideration states that aren't going to vote for months, weeks, after the thing starts. And so figuring out where you are in Virginia in the Democratic primary doesn't really matter, because if you drop out before you get to Virginia, it doesn't matter. And so we've got to figure out who's going to actually do well right off the bat. And my money is on Sanders.
I think you're right, because same reasons. I think he's going to win 3 of the first 4 states. Remember, he won Iowa last time and got cheated out of it on rigged coin flips. He actually beat Clinton in Iowa. He crushed her in New Hampshire. I think he beats Warren in New Hampshire. That's the end of her campaign. And then you're right, he's not going to win South Carolina, but then he's going to win Nevada because he's organized there. And if you saw Bernie last night, I thought Bernie did what he had to do. And I'm just pure analysis without a dog in the hunt. He really had to separate himself out from Beth Warren, and I think he did that. She was screechy. She was rambling. I mean, Bernie was the authority. It was like if you're going to go with Bernie's policies, go with the guy that invented them. Go with the guy that's the real thing, not with Warren, who's kind of the Johnny-come-lately on it. So I thought he was set himself up last night, got his mojo back, had his arms going, did all the Bernieisms. I think he was a big winner last night in that. That's why I think he's going to be the nominee. The other thing that people don't realize, Sean, he got cheated last time. Everybody knows that. And there's no superdelegates. If he goes to Milwaukee, let's say he goes to Milwaukee with the lead but not the majority. And, on the second ballot, the Democrats then put in the superdelegates. If they try to steal it from him a second time, could you imagine what is going to happen in Milwaukee? That place will explode. Agree?
Yeah, it's going to be a rating bonanza for C-SPAN. It's going to be fantastic. I will be so excited because I think you're right. The superdelegates won't let him win, and there will be an outright civil war in the Democratic Party when that happens. But I actually totally think your analysis is spot on, and I think the scenario has got a higher than average likelihood of actually happening this cycle for them.
So Bernie Sanders, Trump, who wins that?
Oh, hands down, Trump. Right. I mean, that's not even – I don't think that's – I mean, I literally have spoken to Democrat friends of mine who, I go back to that sort of Tim Ryan, Steve Bullock, traditional Democrat kind of They support left-leaning policies and whatever, but they're the kind that they're in the mold of John Kennedy kind of thing. I think that's a different race than Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, et cetera, because there's no question normal Democrats can't vote for crazy. And that's what that is. I will tell you one other thing that's interesting as far as the takeaway from last night. I think last night's probably the last time you see Beto O'Rourke too. It was sad to watch him fight for relevance for a guy who came out, sort of with a ticker tape parade and cover of Vanity Fair and all this. He literally it was sort of watching a guy like try to fumble through a comedy routine and not be funny. But from the opposite end, he sort of kept trying to figure out how do I stick this policy point in, and it was social. It was almost awkward.
Yeah, socially awkward. The other thing, he kind of won the bobblehead award because his speaking style is he bops up and down. It's like, remember Mitch Miller, follow the bouncing ball, and every time he would speak, like I would try to follow him, and I would get a pain in my neck. My neck would go stiff just trying to follow him because he kept bouncing up and down with that speaking style he has, dipping and going up. So he definitely won the bobblehead award, but no relevance whatsoever. But look, there was none of those centrist candidates have a shot. So that was almost like, remember when you guys did the Republican debate and then you did the undercard? So half these people are the undercard. John Delaney isn't going to be the nominee. Either is Steve Bullock. Either is Tim Ryan. Right? Tomorrow or tonight, de Blasio is not going to be the nominee. Either is Wang. So you've got the kind of undercard mixed in there. So it really doesn't matter what they say. Like I had a caller that said, John.
Actually, here's the thing that I think is interesting. I think you're spot on about last night. That was the last time you see those guys, right? That's it. That's that. Bye-bye Tim Ryan. Bye-bye Beto. Bye-bye Delaney. Bye-bye Tim Ryan on Steve Bullock. Tonight, what I'm going to be intrigued by, especially with a guy like de Blasio, who you brought up, is does he say, if I don't do something nuts tonight, there's no shot? Because that's it. He doesn't. He knows exactly what you just said, which is if he doesn't hit 2% and he's not there, that he's done. And so the question I have is, if you're de Blasio or Yang and you watch last night and you say, okay, it was sort of a big push, right? So no one's going to break out except Marianne Williamson. And so you realize this is it. If I don't say or do something crazy or go after Biden or go after Kamala Harris and try to get my moment, I'm done. So I actually will be interested to see how what happened last night or what didn't happen last night, more importantly, plays into the strategy of how the undercard type folks play tonight.
How do you think? So your position is those fighting for the next stage are going to have to do something crazy to get attention, right? So
yes.
Yeah. So the de Blasio is something. Joe Biden says he's going to be more aggressive. Here's the big trap door, though, I believe, for Kamala Harris. She has to follow up debate performance 1 with debate performance 2. Otherwise, she's going to look like a one-shot Charlie, right? A one-song Charlie. So she's got to follow this up with something. Everybody tonight is going to be waiting for her to go attack number 2. If that doesn't happen, it's like, okay, well, what was the first debate about? Are you scared now? Doesn't that put a lot of pressure on her to follow this up, Sean?
Yes, exactly. It does. And I also think that how Biden reacts is almost, if not more important, right? You're right. She's got to figure out, okay, I played a strong game 1. How do I follow it up with a game 2 so I don't look like a one-trick pony? The problem for Biden is this. Number 1, he can't look like he's either groveling or attacking her because it'll make him look weak or like a bully. The bigger problem is this. Part of what voters want is a sense of like authenticity, and Biden's not naturally, hyper. Like he sort of, he's the crazy uncle, and so for him to suddenly look like this outrageous attacker. And it's just not it's not like, the role that he plays. And so if he comes across as too aggressive or too whiny, that equally could be very, very damaging to his prospects.
I agree with you 100%. I mean, the stakes are high, I think, for both Biden and Kamala Harris tonight. Sean Spicer with us. Sean Spicer, always enjoy his perspective. Sean is the senior policy advisor to America First Policies and America First Policies Action. That is the only sanctioned political action committee for Trump 2020 reelect campaign. Sean, I've only got a couple more minutes. I want to shift to the Elijah Cummings Twitter battle, the president and Cummings calling out West Baltimore failed policies there, and then the president being called a racist by everybody that's involved with it because he's criticizing Elijah Cummings. What is your take on that, Sean?
Well, it's funny. Last night, Elizabeth Warren and others started talking about healthcare racism and environmental racism. And, to me, it actually cheapens real racism. There are people and there are issues that we need to solve in this country. And when you run around and throw that card down every time something happens, it cheapens the real problem and the real issues that exist. And so it's become the Democrats and frankly the liberal media's calling card. Is that every time that they have a problem, they just throw out racism and play the race card. The fact of the matter is, look, I've said this before, President Trump is an equal opportunity offender. If you go after him, he punches right back. Mm-hmm. So if Cummings wasn't the chair of that committee and, Eric Swalwell from California was, he'd be going after Eric Swalwell. Mm-hmm. This is not a race thing. It's not a personal thing. And he has gone after every one of his primary opponents. He's gone after Bill de Blasio, Gavin Newsom, the governor, the mayor of London, and you name it. If you come after him, he goes after you. He's gone after Ralph Northam in Virginia. I mean, so I think that this has become all too often the only card that the Democrats and the left-wing media have to play is just to throw out race.
Sean Spicer, you're absolutely right. And I thought that line there, we played it earlier in one of the clips by Warren, and I think she said environmental racism, health racism, education racism. I mean, she went down the line, and you're right. It kind of cheapened it, and I think it's unfair when it really, really happens. So you're spot on with that. Sean Spicer, we're out of time. I want to thank you for being with us. I know you got to go.
You bet, John.
The Navy
trucking,
duty.
Baby.
All right, good to have you with us, Sean Spicer. America First Policies, America First Policies Action.